Welcome to Tickled with Tové. It's that weekly podcast of giggly bits and fun delights featuring industry gurus, thought leaders, friends from around the world who share insights, experiences, lessons learned, and especially the bits that tickle their fancies. It's so lovely to have Dr. Malie Coyne with us. She's the senior clinical psychologist, a lecturer, author of Love In, Love Out, media expert and speaker, and she just graces the screen with her sheer loveliness. It's lovely to have you here, Malie. Thank you so much for your time today.
Fantastic to be here, Tove. Really fantastic.
I know it's a baking hot day, but we'll just talk about something that is hot off the press, and that is this brand new study that you brought up with Discover Northern Ireland. It's so interesting. It's about how adventurous people think they are, and what does it mean to them to be adventurous. Tell me about this.
Yeah, it was a study commissioned by Discover Northern Ireland to see after I suppose we're still in the pandemic, but to see after the lockdowns that we've had, what is people's sense of adventure? What do they associate with adventure? And are they as adventurous now as they were before? And they did that across a range of ages and genders. And I suppose what they found was that there had been an increase in Irish people's sense of adventure, with 33% of adults claiming that they are now more adventurous than they were before the pandemic. And that the top associations with adventure were 32% said they classify freedom as one of their top three associations, with 30% claiming new experiences is what they would use to associate with adventure. So I think the positive thing about this is that people are ready for adventure, even though we've all been locked up and very kind of, focused on safety. But people are obviously looking and itching to get away. And that's why I think Northern Ireland is a great escape in a way for people to travel that are from Northern Ireland or from the Republic of Ireland, so that it still feels safe. We don't have to get on a plane, you know?
I think it's such a valid observation, because of course we know from tourists who love to come that they make sacrifices of all kinds of natures to come to our home. And before the lockdown, we probably took it for granted to a large extent. And actually, it's a beautiful, beautiful place. The Republic and Northern Ireland, beautiful places that have so many wild spirits. Now, I love what I see in the Discover Northern Ireland website, that they're talking about taking care of each other, taking care of the land, and taking care of business. And it all starts, doesn't it, just at that local level. Now, I know that you're such an advocate for mental health and for well-being, but that sense of anxiety is so strong still. What's your advice to people who still feel so restricted, that the concept of adventure or being adventurous seems such a stretch for them when they're still so wrapped up in anxiety?
Yeah, I mean, I think the last, year and a half, we can say now nearly, our sense of threat as human beings, we all have this sense of threat anyway. As human beings, our brain attunes to threat, rightfully so, to keep us safe. But in the last year and a half, more than ever. And what counterbalances threat is soothing ourselves. I mean, that's why my book is called Love In, Love Out. It's about self-soothing. And I think, going on an adventure when you feel safe. So I suppose what they're trying to say with Discover Northern Ireland is that if you go to a location where you know that there's going to be COVID safety rules in place, and that you're kind of familiar in the sense that, you're not going to a completely new country and not knowing exactly what you're going to get yourself into, that that the places that they're promoting are going to be kind of safe, that then humans, when they feel safe, they're able to explore their environment. It's from the time you're a baby. A little toddler won't go and climb something if their mother or father isn't there to help them feel safe. So we have to feel safe in order to actually explore our environment. And I think, there's a lot of different activities that are mentioned that, whether you're into kind of really kind of like sporty type of adventures. I mean, there's everything from blading, sailing, skydiving, bike, hiking, kayaking, walking, surfing, ziplining. But then you also have people that love being at the beach. In fact, that was one of the findings, that 48% of adults claim that seaside and coasts are more likely to give them a sense of adventure, whereas 36% said mountains and hills. But then there's people who like walking tours around Belfast or Derry, or going for a nice afternoon tea, in Derry. I think there's a Derry girls afternoon tea or something. So it really depends, but we have to feel safe in order to kind of venture.
And what is interesting, I found this one interesting, about 32% of adults, particularly those over 65, describing freedom as one of their top 3 associations with adventure. 30% claiming new experiences. And I wondered about that sense of freedom, the chance to just express yourself locally and to be a tourist in your own mind sometimes, even locally in the regions that you could visit. But being a tourist in your own mind means visiting your mind sometimes, recognizing that you're having thoughts, you aren't the thoughts. That there's that little separation between you and the thoughts. What's your take on that in terms of how people are experiencing adventure?
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, a thought is not a fact. And, I do this a lot with clients where we kind of look at, is that a fact or is it an opinion? And very often our thoughts are colored by how we feel. So, I think I love the idea of going and venturing somewhere and almost rediscovering what's around you, if it's around you, or what's close to you, but doing it with a different point of view. I always find that when I'm on holidays or when I'm taking some time away from work, that I am able to see a sense more of possibility in the world. And I love that idea of people choosing seaside and coasts and mountains, because that is what gives us perspective. I mean, we were talking earlier about, like, how do you counterbalance your sense of threat? If you're feeling really stressed, your outlook on life gets very narrow and you're thinking of, oh my God, I have this to do and that to do. And you might be sitting in front of the screen. But the second you take a deep breath in through your nose, even a double breath in through your nose and a breath out through your mouth, and stand up and look out at the horizon, wherever that is, your visual sense is so powerful that it will instantly relax you. And I think it's brilliant that people are wanting to adventure in nature, because nature gives us that instant sense of connection with land and with water and with, I think people got a renewed sense of value in those things during the lockdowns. And I think that's really important.
I've noticed a lot of people on the whole island have taken to sea swimming, and I rocked up once in a wetsuit, and they were in their costumes, and I was like, I am overdressed for the occasion. But what's so exhilarating is there are people who swim day in and day out, and I loved it on the website because there was the sup boarding, and I saw there was sup picnics. I mean, there's so much fun to be had. What do you think about people releasing themselves into fun, guilt-free fun? Like, we know that people are sick, people have died, we've lost, there's businesses that have suffered, we've all lost and suffered. There isn't a family who hasn't experienced it. But what about guilt-free fun? What do you think about that?
I think it's so important. I mean, we were all kids once. And as I write in my book as well, is that play is the opposite of fear. So, you talked earlier about, before the interview, about laughter yoga and about, an adventure and, where you lose yourself with being in nature, playing, having fun, laughing. They're all the opposite of anxiety. So when you're feeling anxious, it's important to connect with other people, obviously, but to do things where you just kind of lose sense and track of time, of space. You realize that there's more to life. When you're up on a mountain or when you're skydiving or doing something a bit mad, you kind of almost can't believe that you've managed to do that. And that's why I loved all the ideas they had about, like, surfing or going kayaking at the Causeway Coast and There's so much there that I would love to go and explore, because I suppose my experience of Northern Ireland has mostly been kind of cities and some countryside, because I lived up in Sligo and Donegal before, but I'd love to experience more. And what's really good about their website, if you go on to Discover Northern Ireland website, is that their research has inspired an online video experience. So you can, when you get onto that, you can choose sea or air, tea, or, you know, kind of splash or bubbles, tea, water, bike, hike, off-road, on street, and you can choose, and then it brings you directly into that experience, and you get a really good visual sense of what that would feel like.
It's a land of giants, but even a giant's got to start somewhere. So, you know, if you were nipping up this side, what would be your first experience? I think I would I'd be interested in that, the skydiving. That would be fun, but I seem to be drawn to water, so I think I would be on those sup boards for sure. But what's so nice, as you say, is you can go on these video experiences and just enjoy it. Those kayaks there on the sea as you go through the glens, it must be absolutely stunning to do. And I think also what's fascinating is those walking tours, because you know, Belfast specifically is known for having a lot of murals and art, and you know, it used to be that it was this side versus that side, and it was, you know, a conflict driven, but now there's a bit more expression, a bit more artistic reveling, and I think that's also fresh and new, something different that maybe people didn't know before, and the chance to experience that too.
Yeah, there's just so much, really. I mean, I love the idea of being near the sea. Obviously, like, I have kids, you know, it really, like, there were different kind of subgroups of people interviewed for this. So they were looking at like families and younger people, older people, that kind of thing. And, you know, as a family person, you know, I would say that going to the sea, going to the water, kayaking, surfing, bodyboarding, those kinds of things. But I also love the idea, when my kids get that bit older, of going hiking. You can go hiking in the mornings with Life Adventure Center, or zip lining, you know. But again, I'd probably start with the sea myself, like you. And I don't know, would I do the wetsuit or the swimsuit? I'm not sure. It depends how cold the water is.
You know what's fascinating is in the wet, because I obviously became more suitably attired after that, but it's actually quite exhilarating. You get that tingle, and you know, at first it's like really quite a shock, but you get more used to it, and there's that sense of, and this is what I think is the thing that we've all been missing, is that sense of well-being that extends beyond our current status, you know, something that's a bit more. And what I really love is that people are extending that value to what's naturally around them. You don't have to, you know, we live so much in a virtual world. Youngsters are constantly, you know, this is the pros. It's like, I'm down and in my phone and that's all I do. The whole world's happening outside me. But it's so lovely is there a sustainability element to this whole process, to being a part of adventure, but sustainably so? Is there something that... There
is actually, they found that sustainability was actually one of the driving forces in terms of people wanting to choose a destination. That was just over half of adults claim that sustainability and the environment will be important to them when planning an adventure, with just 18% claiming that it will not be important. And then 54% claim accessibility was important to them. So yeah, I mean, I think sustainability is definitely something on people's minds, particularly now with climate change and with all the different things happening in our world. I think it's fantastic to actually look around, not to travel too far, a few hours at most. And I think that's what's so great about Northern Ireland, is that, you know, you can actually do a lot in a brief amount of days, because you don't have a huge amount of terrain to cover, and that it's there for you to enjoy. So I think that's really important for us to kind of explore. And that's why I definitely I would definitely be planning to do that myself, because I think it's just previously it was one of those natural things, like, where are we going to travel to, where will we get a plane to? But I think now, it's fantastic to increase people's awareness of what we actually have underneath our noses, you know?
And it is, there's so much that's here. It's been so lovely speaking to you and sharing about your research. And what are your next projects? What are you up to next? I know that we definitely want to speak to you more about your book, because that fascinates me. I think that's the real place that it matters, where we nurture ourselves, our inner self, our younger self, but also our children. And, you know, that we have that sense of progress and healing and nurturing. I'm so excited about your book. How are people responding to it so far?
Oh, brilliant. Like, it came out a year ago, I think this week or something, but I know that there's a new version coming out of it coming next year. As in a kind of a smaller version, but it's going really well, you know. Like, there was a lot of kind of publicity and things around the time that it came out, but I love the kind of slower trickle now, you know, people sending me messages saying that really helped with my child, or, you know, like mothers, fathers, people who aren't even parents, who you know, those ideas of self-compassion are there for people regardless. Even if your child isn't anxious, it's also very kind of, it's for helping your child with any difficult emotion, helping yourself with any difficult emotion. So yeah, it's going, I'm really delighted with it. You know, I'm really delighted with how it's gone, and it's lovely that it's nice and slow now and isn't so crazy, the whole kind of launch and everything.
Just as we close out, was there anything that surprised you in your research as you made these undertakings?
I think maybe there was one finding that said just over half of adults claim that they perceive adventures as being safe in 2021, with just over a third claiming that they feel adventures are neither safe nor unsafe, and 13% only perceive adventures to be unsafe. So really, I think what this shows, and I was a bit surprised, because I kind of wondered, are people ready for an adventure? Are they ready? You know, like every time you turn on the news, there's more kind of new stuff about, oh, something else is going to, you know, well, you know, it's doom and gloom when you hear most news. But I was actually pleasantly surprised to hear that people are kind of, you know, seeing adventures being safe. And that's probably because a lot of adventure is outdoor, and that you can enjoy things. And even when you're indoors, then, you know, like we're I suppose trusting that what they have in Northern Ireland, and we're you know, they wouldn't be advertising them if they weren't, that they have kind of safety protocols in place. So I think it's brilliant that people are ready for that type of adventure and that they perceive it as safe. And that kind of, it surprised me in a bit, because I kind of wondered, would people just rather stay at home? But in fact, I think people are dying to get away, even if it's not too far away, you know?
Yeah. And there's a lot to experience. So yeah, we'd love to see you up here sometime soon with the kids, and come and enjoy yourself, because there's a lot to see and do. And thank you for the research. It's insightful, it's interesting, and as ever, it's always lovely to see you and to see you thriving and doing well. We look forward to speaking to you again. Thank you for your time today.
You too, Tove. Thanks so much.